Hi everybody, it's Cindy the Scrapologist, and I'm here with another video in the series Use Your Scraps. And I do hope that you're following along so that you can enjoy your craft room, shop your own stash, and just feel like you're organized, have your workspace be nice and clear for any time you want to jump in and start a project. So I hope it's being of some benefit to you to show you how I keep my craft studio so organized. So the other day I had a ton of scraps. I just finished a wedding album for someone. It was huge. It took over 2 paper collections, 12 by 12 paper collections, and I'm not kidding you, I had a stack like this thick, and they were all mostly thin strips because the album was 7 by 10, and so I had a lot of 2 and 3 inch strips left over. Now I've done a lot of videos in this series on what to do with those long strips, and I could have done any one of those techniques, but I had so many that I didn't want to sit there all day and make all individual things out of that many scraps. When I have a huge pile, this is what I do. I cut squares so that I have squares to be able to just crank out these cards really quickly. I'm going to show you the measurements and how I go about doing this. You know from watching my other videos that as soon as I finish a project, the very next thing that I do, not immediately after, but before I do another project, I work with those scraps and get them organized and into something usable. So I separated them into different sizes and picked out ones that I didn't want to cut up into squares. I had a couple of strips that I wanted to use my Sizzix machine and cut them into flowers. This is a Tim Holtz die that makes an accordion flower. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my microphone falling off my pants here, my belt buckle. Okay. And so you accordion it and then you tape the ends together. And then, I don't know how I'm going to be able to pick this up. Let's see. And then it makes a flower, and it comes with a dot that you put in the center that flop, that holds the flower together. I think you're going to have to get the idea from here. So anyway, I made some of those, and I had some cut aparts from the paper collection that I didn't want to ruin. I have some die cut butterflies and leaves and flowers that I ended up not using, and I was going to use this as a piece of trim, and I ended up not using that, and this as well. I put one of these on a tag, but this didn't cut properly. And then also with my Sizzix machine, I did several tag toppers that I ended up not using. So I've got a bunch of those that are already cut and ready to go. That's what all these are. I had a tag that I didn't use. This, I just liked it and I didn't want to cut it up. I have a corner pocket that I didn't use because I cut this wrong. Here I cut the point off, but I'll use this for something else. And then I had some wider strips. Oh, these are left over from the flowers that I cut. This wider strip I just didn't want to cut up because I have another 12 by 12 paper pack of one of these collections. So what I'm going to do, and I had just a couple of stickers left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these usable pieces and put them with the other 12 by 12 packs, so I have some goodies, some embellishments when I use that pack of paper. Okay. You also know from watching that when I finish up with cardstock, which this is what I make most of my books out of, in either black, white, or craft, if I have pieces big enough, I cut these down to 9 inches by 6 inches, and I score at 4.5 inches, and then I have a bunch of these in a bin, just all stacked up neatly like this, and when I need to make a card, I can pull one out. So that's what I've done here. So let me give you the measurements. All I did was I took those thin strips and I cut them into 3 squares, which I should have done 4 squares. I forgot about the 4th square. So I'm going to give you the measurements for all 4 squares. I don't know what I was thinking when I was doing this. So I just take my strips and I cut them down into these sizes. Let's see if we can get this to focus. Okay, 2 1/4 by 3 3/4, 2 3/4 by 1 7/8, 1 1/2 by 1 7/8, 1 7/8 by 3 3/4. So what I do is I take this widest measurement, 3 3/4. I look at my strips and I measure them to see if they are 3 3/4 inches wide. So I go with the biggest ones first because I don't want to cut big scraps into little teeny ones. I want to cut the bigger scraps, the wider scraps, into these 3 3/4 by 2 1/4 and 3 3/4 by 1 7/8. So I cut all the big scraps down into those 2 piles, which I forgot the other pile when I was cutting, and then I work down from there. Then my medium scraps I cut into the 2 3/4 by 1 7/8, and my little tiny scraps 1 1/2 by 1 7/8. So then I pull a piece of cardstock. I have a variety of different colors. Anything that's solid I put in the card bin, and I pull out one of these and I can just make a card very quickly. Let's see how long it takes. Well, first I have to cut down, because I forgot, 3 3/4 by 1 7/8, because I forgot to do that 4th pile. Let me just cut this down really quickly. Okay, so let's pretend that I have 4 piles here. Okay. Let me see if I can get these out of the way, but leave them on camera. Okay. And obviously your card can go this way or this way, whichever way you want, but it's still the same construction. And you don't really have to think about whether or not these go together. That's the great thing about working with your scraps right after a project. You know already that all these papers, so off center, all of these papers go together. So usually what I do is I just make sure that I don't have 2 of the same on top, which I do. So I'm going to take this one and just put it on the bottom. So now I have 4 different colors. And I take the largest one, the 2 1/4 by 3 3/4, and that just goes right here. Let's see how long this takes. Let's see, it's 3:48. How many times have you gotten into a bind where you need a card in an emergency? I know I have. Or, oh, I forgot it was somebody's anniversary and I'm about to see them in 5 minutes. And okay, this is the 3 3/4 by 1 7/8. That goes here. So this is great for that when you need a card on the fly. Okay, then take the medium size and that goes here. Okay, and notice I'm not making a square. You see? I like it a little bit more off center like that. I think, I've been making cards since the 80s, and at some point I think they started calling this color blocking, I want to say, or something like that, where things were being done in blocks, and I still like that. Okay, and then the smaller piece, I cut something wrong, or I didn't do it right. There we go. Yeah, that'll fit. Okay, smaller piece goes there. Okay. And then take a flower, or see how white's going to do. White will be fine. A flower, a butterfly, a button, anything that you want can go right here. Done. Let's see, 3:51. I forgot what time I said it was when it started, but that was less than 5 minutes, right? So there. There it is. And they all look different, kind of, sort of, you know, because they're all different colored scraps. But I made it in less than 5 minutes, not counting cutting these up. That took a little while, but not very long. I just put on some tunes and cut away for like a half hour. So there's still room on here for a sentiment across the top, or here, or a little something here. I can decorate this some more if I want, depending on what I eventually need it for. And that's when I will do the inside too. I'll put a square here of paper, maybe decorate the corners, and then I'll write something. I'll write the personal note to whoever I'm giving it to. So that's super quick and easy. I hope that this has encouraged you to get back into your craft room and deal with some of those scraps. This is a quick, easy one. If you just want to not have to think about it, you just want to sit there and cut and cut and cut and get rid of your scraps and get them into organized piles. So I hope that helps, and I will see you in the next Use Your Scraps video. Please hit subscribe below so you don't miss any video in the series, and I would really appreciate a thumbs up or a like, or subscribe, or give me a comment so that I know how you're liking these videos. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.